It's coming pretty dark, right? Because the light has gone. Not supposed if I'm supposed to. Just one moment. I think we are getting late here. Hello, everyone. Hello, am I audible? Am I audible to everyone? Please write in the comment and confirm if I'm audible to everyone. Okay, great. Thank you. So welcome everybody to another episode of Kaam Ki Baat. So Kaam Ki Baat is a series of live webinars with industry expert where they share their stories and how did they make it to their career journey, highlight challenges that they faced, skills that they needed to acquire to become what they are today. So in today's Kaam Ki Baat, we have a very special guest. uh, I'll give a hint. This guest is from the team that helped us put on the moon. There's no prize for guessing, but go ahead and make a guess. Where is this guest is coming from? Any guesses? I can see a lot of people commenting. Aryan Singh, ISRO. Yashita, ISRO. Vansh, ISRO. Yeah, correct. Fantastic. Okay, before I introduce to our guest and start the chat, I would want you all to tell me in the comment which place and which state you are joining this chat from. Tamil Nadu, New Delhi, Pune, West Bengal. A lot of people from Andhra Pradesh, Hyderabad. Okay, fantastic. So let's welcome our guest. Today we have with us the amazing guest and the only person who could make this session an interesting and inspiring one for everybody who is joining us today. So please welcome Mr. Piyush Kumar Gaurav. He is a scientist at ISRO. He is presently working in the area of flight dynamics, particularly been known as spacecraft altitude determination, design, and analysis at ISRO Satellite Centre. He has worked on many prestigious missions, and I'm sure you are aware of the Chandrayaan mission that recently happened. So those missions that where Mr. Piyush has worked is Chandrayaan 2, Chandrayaan 3, and also where we keep hearing a lot about Aditya L1. Please, join me in welcoming Mr. Piyush to the session.
Thank
Hi,
you,
Piyush.
Shadab. Hi. Thank you so much for having me here. I think it's a great opportunity for me also to interact with many of the students. In fact, I should really appreciate your team to put in the hard work. In fact, to contacting me uh, uh, and then we plan for this meeting today. And special appreciation for I think the all the audience here because I think they're ready to sacrifice a 1 hour precious 1 hour of Saturday evening with me. So hopefully I can justify their expectations. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. I'm hoping this is going to be an inspiring and interesting chat, and everyone will learn something from this, and I hope they will go back motivated, right? So let's start with this interesting question. I mean, rocket science to nahi hai is a very widely used proverb. So many a times we hear when we explain something and they say कि rocket science to nahi hai. So has this ever happened to you that you're sitting down with your friends, your cousins, and they complain about their life or challenges that they might be facing at work, and then you tell कि chill kar, rocket science to nahi hai. I mean, if any such incident has happened, I mean, let's hear about that.
See, something like this has not happened with my cousins, but yeah, I mean, sometimes I do flaunt this anecdote in front of my wife and my son. Uh, my wife takes it okay, but it has kind of backfired me once. Uh, what happened is once my son, who is just a 4 year old, I he wanted a marker to write something on the wall, which I don't want. So he wanted me to approach it and then give it to him. So I told no, Ivan, it's not possible. I'll not be able to reach that overhead. So he showed a surprising expression and then brought a chair to me and said that, Papa, uh, can't you do this? Rocket science hai kya? And then I was totally shell shocked, embarrassed. Uh, okay, I mean, I had to give him give him and I have to obey him. But yeah, I mean, he used it because probably a few times I used that anecdote or dialogue to him in case he's not coloring it properly, right up to the mark. So I say, what is this, Ivan? You're not doing it rocket science like, yeah. So yeah, I think that is one incident which happened just a month ago, and you asked it. Yeah.
Interesting. Now, moving on to some more serious stuff. I mean, I was going through your profile, and I see you had a fascinating journey. I mean, graduation from IST, and then you went on to pursue your masters from IIT, and then again PhD from IIT, and then you joined ISRO. I'm sure there's something everyone's parents would be, proud to talk about their son. So why don't you tell us in detail about this fascinating journey that you have had uh, of your academics journey?
See, PhD is something I'm still pursuing. I have done kind of master's courses, masters and PhD courses. I'm still pursuing PhD along with my work. Uh, if you see the my journey, I in my school days I never had a plan to join or a space organization as such. But yeah, I do have the passion for engineering, and in my 10th, anyway, by that time I decided that I'll go in that engineering stream. Uh, Later on, uh, I moved to Kota in order to prepare for the JE examinations, and I appeared JE, but I couldn't get secure a great rank in JE. So my rank was around 6,000, and uh, that probably was one time where I was looking for college. I was looking for some good branches at the same time. I was not able to get a good branch in IIT. So there was a new college at that time. It was 2007 when I just was looking for the colleges, and the college was Indian Institute of Space Science and Technology. There were other new colleges also in terms of research. I was interested in that. So Indian Institute of Science Education and Research. So I actually got admitted in Indian Institute of Science Education and Research at Pune. But then the counseling of IIST, Indian Institute of Space Science and Technology, was just after that, and I thought of attending it. I was thoroughly impressed by the way our absorption was done there. The counseling was quite up to the mark, and already we were quite fascinated with ISRO, anyways, by that time. The work ISRO does. So at that time, I, in fact, instantaneously I decided to go with IIST, and I joined it. So there I pursued my BTech in physical sciences branch. There were other branches also, for example, avionics and aerospace, but I landed up in physical sciences and started learning maths, physics more in detail, and then I got good exposure of space science, what remote sensing is, how does ISRO works. Since that center was in placed in Thiruvananthapuram, Trivandrum, Kerala, it was closely working with Vikram Sarabhai Space Center, and we are fortunate enough that we could see the ISRO culture quite closely at that point of time, right? So we were accessing some of the ISRO labs also quite frequently, and some of the ISRO scientists at that point of time. And then in 2011, I graduated from IIST and joined URO Satellite Centre in Bangalore. So this is the lead center for development of satellites. So there I joined as an electrical systems engineer, although a newer field for me because I was from physics and maths background, but it was a very enjoyable experience to learn electronics and electrical systems. And that was in 2011, and later on in 2016, I switched my branch and joined Flight Dynamics Group, which is a core mathematics and physics group. A very nice team to work with. So this is how my journey began, and I got absorbed in ISRO.
I think pretty interesting. Here, I have two questions. One is, you were suggesting when you started your career, you weren't predetermined from the very beginning. Ki, okay, space science is something I need to get into. It happened because you landed at IIST. Right?
Right,
That's question number one. Question number two, I mean, IIST, again, definitely a prestigious research institution, but not as popular as IIT. So,
right.
is you are suggesting that somebody not necessarily has to be from famous college to be able to get into a scientific field and a company like ISRO?
Yeah, so not exactly required because see, in for getting into ISRO, there are two ways. One is what I told you. So that is one way by. So even after 12th, you can join IST, and then you can continue doing good over in the college, and then get absorbed in ISRO. Another, there is a examination by the name ICRB, which is conducted by ISRO based upon the vacancies, and you can appear for those examinations and the interview along with, and then get absorbed in ISRO. In fact, in IST also, the newer as per newer rules, you need to satisfy some of the criteria, and based upon the vacancies, ISRO will float number of seats.
Right. Interesting. I mean, that's an interesting information for all our audience that not necessarily you have to be from a popular college such as IIT to be able to go to ISRO and fulfill your dream of being a scientist. There are two ways, as Piyush mentioned. Right. Moving on to my next question. Right. So Piyush, usually in India, when people talk about government companies, there is a particular tone or particular connotation to it. कि, okay, government company hai, तो excellence would not be there or the quality of work would not be there, right? Now that you have worked quite a bit at ISRO and worked on really interesting projects, would you please give us an insight what goes behind the scene? How does the work culture function there? How do people work? A little sneak peek of working at ISRO.
Yeah, so ISRO being a space organization, there is a lot of discipline required. Otherwise, a space is not so friendly, right? So, uh, if you see any space organization, not only ISRO, but any space organization will have a lot of interdisciplinary work. So you, as I was, for example, ISRO have multiple centers, right? So URO Satellite Center, in which I work here in Bangalore, it's a lead center for satellite development. Similarly, you have Vikram Sarabhai Space Center, which is a lead center for development of rockets. There is the Space Application Center, which is the lead center for development of payloads. And each of these centers will have domain expertise from various many fields. For example, if you are from computer science, electronics, mechanical, maths, physics, even chemistry. So there is a role for every domain expert uh, in a development of such a satellite space mission. Uh, and I'm talking about each center. If you consider URL satellite center, a satellite has a different subsystems, power subsystems, flight dynamic subsystems, RF systems, communication systems, and control systems. So every team will require different sets of people. So interdisciplinary work is very important in any space organization, and that's what ISRO also do. There is a lot of interdisciplinary work going on, and since it is interdisciplinary, there's a lot of collaborative environment present in ISRO. So uh, when they work in collaboration, they understand their responsibility. One thing I noticed why ISRO succeeds so brilliantly most of the time is there's a lot of collaboration in teams, and even within the teams, people know their responsibilities. It doesn't matter how many years you are working on. Even I've seen many youngsters doing their job very precisely. They know exactly what they are supposed to do. They know that if their calculation goes wrong, for example, if I'm in flight dynamics, if our calculation goes wrong, it can affect to other subsystems, for example, thermal subsystems, for example, sensors, right? So those sense of responsibility, I think, makes distinguishes ISRO quite a lot. Uh, Apart from that, since we are working in space domain, extensive amount of testing and simulation goes in the background, right? So redundancy, backup strategies, they are quite common whenever we discusses about development of satellites or rockets. In ISRO, there is a general notion that we believe a lot on Murphy's law. Like anything that can go wrong will go wrong, right? So if there is any possibility of going wrong, we need to address it very properly and very thoroughly, very seriously. So testing. So if a satellite goes uh, on board, I mean, is launched, we test each and every scenario that has to happen on board on the ground, right? So there are redundancies. For example, one subsystem doesn't work, there should be some redundancy possible to switch over to the next subsystem and run the show, right? So similarly, we have a lot of backup strategies. You might have seen those orbits around the Earth, right? Elliptical orbit. So those orbit comes when we fire our engines, right? So for satellite engine, when we fire, it increases the velocity and it increases the orbit. Now, suppose that doesn't happen. The firing happens only for 50% of the time or 10% of the time. What next? What are the backup strategies? Right, so those are the things we do consider. And then always there is a pride of working in. So when there is a pride involved, you will get motivated. So working on cutting edge technology, challenging projects like Aditya, Chandrayaan, and maybe Gaganyaan coming up, so those things are affect a lot. I think there's extensive review systems in ISRO, and that review system will keep a track of every activity, whether we are doing good, whether we are our algorithms are right or wrong. Extensive questioning will happen by experienced scientists. So those things will keep us very disciplined, quite on track. I think those things are also common with most of the space agency, not only ISRO, but yeah, ISRO follows all of them very diligently. And apart from that, if you see, I believe there is a great work-life balance also in ISRO. During launch campaign, obviously it becomes very hectic many a times, but still there are times where we can give time to our family. So apart from those peak times, we have a good work-life balance, good research opportunities. There's a lot of freedom to do good research, right? So yeah, these are the things which I think sets ISRO apart. and maybe some of the reasons are, I mean, some of the reasons definitely are behind the success of most of our work.
Uh, Hello. Looks like
Yeah, yeah,
uh, I lost my internet.
yeah,
It's
yeah, but
it's back now.
no issues. Yeah,
Thank you
now
so
you're
much.
connected.
I think Piyush, you're able to conclude your answer, right? So
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
if I draw from this, you mentioned that the risk is so high that everybody understands that there's no room for mistake, and hence people
exactly,
take surmountable amount of ownership, and they work in collaboration to make every project a success. I mean, that's what
exactly.
stands out and puts ISRO on the map as
Sure,
a
exactly.
center of excellence. Right? Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Another fun question I've got from some user. I mean, do you get free food at ISRO?
Yeah, I think it became quite popular. I think somewhere I also read it, but yeah, I mean, the food is actually subsidized, but that is something which is quite common in most of the government organization, and not only government. I know many private organization also where we get subsidized food. That is what is common in ISRO also. Someone may argue about the taste of the food, but yeah, I believe the food is very nutritious, and even if you have it daily, you won't land into any concerns.
All right. Yeah, I believe your question is answered. Whosoever asked this. Moving on to the next question that we have, right? So, having been a scientist yourself and working in this domain, I mean, according to you, what are the skills and traits in general, or degrees and education in general, are required for somebody to become a successful scientist? I mean, that's one question, and there's another related question that I have. Uh, in in this era where you can order food on app and you get it in next 10 minutes, right? Because of everything becoming fast in general, we crave for, especially the younger generation, for instant gratification. So in such a scenario, how would you inspire somebody to become a scientist? So I'd say let's deal with the first question first, and then we move to the next question.
Yeah, I think quite detailed questions. I mean, both both of them. So, one, okay, what are the skills required for crucial to let's say succeed in a space field? Uh, See, a strong educational background is something which has no substitute, right? So, if you're in any research organization or even any technical organization, a strong educational background is definitely required. So, and as I said, there are many branches involved. So, you can belong to any of the branch; it doesn't matter. But your domain expertise should be there, and a relevant BTech degree, obviously, and undergraduate degree, BE or BTech, whatever you can call. As far as satellite related knowledge is concerned, that is not required prior. In fact, you can learn those things after joining ISRO. It is completely okay to not know satellite related information prior because it's a rare field, right? So uh, you can join here, and there will be enough training, enough exposure, enough experiences which will guide you and make you a better space scientist. Now, apart from that, being in space research organization, it is, I feel, necessary to have some research skills. For example, you should be able to analyze data. I mean, if somebody gives you some data, you should be able to draw some meaningful conclusions out of it. Uh, those things actually help in the long run. In fact, even to progress here in ISRO. Uh, Many a times you would also require problem solving abilities, right? So for example, there you have launched some mission, it's already in space, you have received let's say some surprises over there, right? So uh, how to handle those surprises? So problem solving abilities will help you there, I feel. For example, if I'm working in flight dynamics group and there is a attitude determination design group, there's some anomaly or there is some surprises which has happened a satellite on board. We have a very limited time. I have my knowledge on attitude, right? So I have my libraries which I've already made in, which is in place for attitude algorithms and other related algorithms. Now, how to use all of them and give a to cater a last minute requirement. I mean, to cater the last minute solution for such requirements. But even then, you should always keep reliability at high stakes. So those are the things which actually will, I think, very much required. Apart from that, you see, programming, computational skills, very important. No matter what field you belong to, programming nowadays has become very common. So better to have that skill in your hand. You may belong to mechanical, but yeah, I mean, it will always help you to know programming, get things simulated, check it out before everything is launched. If you're working on, let's say, hardware, experimental and lab skills will, I mean, you have to work with them day in and day out, right? So, and uh, and as I said, teamwork, working in team, collaborating, better to have some group projects in colleges. I mean, group projects in which you also contribute. It's not like one person contributing, everyone else is enjoying. So better to have such teamwork, collaboration, attention to details. Since these missions are very precise, you have to be very particular about every calculation you are making, how precise calculations you are making. Uh, yeah, those are things, I think, small things, very much important. Continuous learning. Always you have to keep upgrading yourself. So, and in fact, yeah, after some time, you'll keep enjoying that, right? So, you'll have that. If you have that passion and curiosity, you'll always continue learning. So, these
Great.
are things I think very important whenever we talk about space organization, or particularly ISRO, I would say.
Right. So let me summarize this for our users. So you mentioned somebody who wants to become a successful scientist should have a relevant degree in engineering,
Yeah,
should be able to work in a team and collaborate well, right?
yeah,
Should have that research mindset, right?
right.
Should have ability to analyze data, look at it, and make sense of it, right?
Yeah,
Should
yeah,
be it will be an added advantage if that person has knowledge of programming, as
exactly,
because everything is moving digital and you are supposed to be computer and tech savvy in general, right?
exactly.
And would you also say ki somebody, and attention to detail, because there's no headroom for mistakes here, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Would you also say that in general scientists are supposed to be good at mathematics?
Yeah, I feel it's a very important question you pointed out. Uh, uh, not even scientists. I would say a good engineer should always be good in mathematics. See, the way we are talking, our medium of communication is English, right? So the
Correct.
medium of communication, science follows is maths. Yeah, so if you don't know maths,
Nicely put.
how would you actually understand those concepts? So in fact, humans, whatever humans claim to understand, yeah, they have solved this problem. That only means that they are able to mathematically model those problems, right? So it's very important to have the mathematics at your fingertips. It will always help, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. So, I mean, before I proceed with my next question, I am getting one question from Samiksha and many other people. Please tell me the pathway to ISRO from class 11th. I mean, I think we already discussed this. Could you please recap this once more?
Yeah, so if you're in class 11th, you have plenty of opportunities. Congratulations for getting so serious right now, even in class 11th. Yeah, so you can appear for your JEE examinations anyway. You will. I think there is a common examination which will help you to either go into IIT or IIST, Indian Institute of Space Science and Technology. So one way is you join IAST, but there are certain conditions, there are certain criteria which you need to look upon. Uh, you uh, uh, you have to. I mean, IST has some criteria, and then only they will students will get absorbed to ISRO. Or the other way is you either do your engineering, BTech or BE, and from any of the college, and then appear for the ICRB examination which ISRO conducts. You can get the notification on the ISRO website, and then clear that examination to get into ISRO.
Right. Uh, uh, okay. So, Piyush, I'd like to now merge this question, this class 11 question, and the previous question. Right. Somebody who's in class 11, and you mentioned what skills they should, build up in general to become a successful scientist, be at ISRO or anywhere, any prestigious organization. So, how would you recommend them they build these skills that you just talked about?
Yeah, so I believe uh, at class 11th you're already quite occupied, right? So you're already quite occupied in many of the examinations which are going to come up. So in fact, uh, in the time you will learn. So there are few things I think we should kind of follow in our daily life. So not only class 11th, why class 11th? You can follow even in lower classes. Uh, but still, I would not suggest to give very high funda. For example, let explain space science in a very young age. I don't feel those kind of approaches are good. Do not pressurize them at an early stage. They already have a lot of pressure. So I truly believe uh, work coolly, but yeah, be serious. One is you can we can actually promote science in daily life, right? So that will inculcate a habit of thinking deep for any of the student. For example, uh, why, if you're riding a cycle, why does it remain stable, right? So that's science. I mean, very general daily activity. Why sun rises in the east and sets in the west? Why we see a half moon, right? So there are very basic things which you can concentrate, think deeply, and try to get answers. Those things will give you uh, those thinking approach, which is actually required to work well in any of the good organization. Apart from that, I mean, if I am a teacher, I would like to be very friendly, very approachable, because if you become strict, I'm not sure students will try to approach you and try to ask questions. It is very important to ask many questions. So always, to students, I will actually suggest that always ask questions, keep questioning, keep inquiring. What, when, how, why? These are the questions. If you keep asking, you will always get deeper and deeper knowledge. So that always helps. And whenever, for example, even if you are going for a let's say a nature walk or something. For example, with students, we are going for a field trip. I think those things are kind of common nowadays also. You do observe things. As an engineer, I feel observation, having a good skills in observation is something required at the first place, right? So have those things. If you have observed something, try to have a record keeping. I mean, can you recall those events? I mean, what are the things which you have seen? Can you summarize it? It will make you more organized. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, again, work in collaborative projects. Those will help. Actually, those will kind of help. Celebrate your achievements. Why not? I mean, if you have done something good, why not celebrate it? Uh, and yeah, I mean, academics is. I don't think academics of 11, 12 are very tough, but yeah, you have to be at par with all those things. But yeah, develop that approach or develop that thinking, which will which will set you apart.
Right. So, so simply put, Piyush,
Yeah,
I mean, the simplest thing that anyone can do is be curious about what's happening around in
exactly,
general in nature, right?
exactly.
As you mentioned, why when somebody is driving, cycle is not falling, it's running, right?
Yeah,
In general, being curious and thinking and asking questions. I mean, that's a very interesting advice for anyone who is attending this session. And if you want to become a scientist and are a aspiring scientist, I mean, you have to be curious and ask questions why, and try to get in the details of it. Try to find out the reasons behind it. I mean, that's where the reasoning begins, and you start finding the reasons behind things. And if you're not able to find, you go deeper, right? I mean,
yeah, and
fantastic
celebrate once you
advice.
achieve.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, celebrate in general,
Yeah,
celebrate whatever you achieve. Uh, so I'm going back to my earlier question, which
yeah,
we
yeah,
discussed. I mean, recently the names of Nobel laureates were revealed. Some people won Nobel Prize in physics, chemistry, and biology, right? So we read about these names and forget. And until these names are announced, we don't know who these people were, what do they do, where they come from, right? So in this era where usually this especially the younger people crave for instant gratification, right, and science, I mean, I don't think it either brings a lot of limelight to a person or in general
Yeah,
a lot of money, right? uh, if you ask, I mean, today, I mean,
exactly.
who are the founders of, startups, and people would be, recall quite a few names, and that's a great thing, right? But how would you inspire in such a scenario somebody to become a scientist, which doesn't more often, I mean, mostly doesn't bring you either the fame or the money?
See, inspiring something against money is quite difficult, right? So you must agree. I do agree. So, but yeah, I mean, as you rightly pointed out, that right now there's an era where young people are more interested in making reels and getting viral, right? So viral is kind of very overhyped thing right now. You want to get viral, although it's a age of internet and you can go on YouTube, make some videos, you can share it. If you become viral, so happy, wow. So quite overhyped. I feel that students should actually utilize internet judiciously. I think those resources needs to be utilized judiciously. Uh, you see, there was an old time. In fact, at that time, I have not even joined ISRO. So I'm talking to other people who who are much senior to me. They say it was very difficult to find resources. If they want to work on some technology, it was very difficult to find papers, hardware setups, details of the algorithms. It was very difficult, but even then they set up organization like ISRO, right? So right now we have all the resources available at our fingertips. We just need to select the right resources and proceed. Job is not tough. In fact, job is much more easier, but I think what else you can have? You can't have a pride in making some reels, but you can have a pride in working something great, maybe for the country. So those things, I think students should think a bit deeply. We can probably take some inspiration from Bollywood and cricket also. I think India loves Bollywood and cricket a lot, but why they are famous? I mean, they are famous because they are able to connect. They are able to connect to daily life, right? So Bollywood, you can watch a movie, just switch on the TV and have your remote. You can go to play cricket. I think we have to make you need. I mean, students should keep science, involve science in their daily life. Try think deeply. Make correct role models, right? So you see YouTube. I see there are some people uh, who have a channel, they will abuse and then they get popular, right? So don't make them their role models, right? So I believe I'm not against real, or maybe I am, but I think we should be very particular about choosing our real life role models. I mean, that's one. Uh, uh, I mean, one suggestion I could give it to young people out there.
I think very interesting. I mean, one part you mentioned, that you don't want to do something small and be famous for it and take pride in it, right? I
Yeah,
mean, that's
yeah,
one thing. You do that, it's great. But when you think beyond fame and money, right? For
yes,
instance, ISRO putting India on moon and on the world map. That, I mean, a country that's still not thought as as a leader. ISRO is one organization, and the people, dedicated people
exactly.
working there, has made that possible. I mean, India is among the forefront of the nations which are considered very advanced and high tech in terms of space technology. In general, when you discover something as a scientist, you impact the lives of millions. For example, this year in biology, the Nobel Prize was given to somebody who invented vaccine for uh, this coronavirus, right? So, as a scientist, when you succeed achieving, discovering, and making something, you impact millions and billions of life in general, right?
Yes,
So,
exactly. from satellite imagery, we are providing a lot of input, surveillance. You see, fisheries to the fishermen for city planning. For there are many informations which we are providing through satellites. Landing on moon is one just one small step for a lot of technical advances which we can do later on. So there is a lot of pride in these things. I mean, these prides are completely different as compared to the instant pride. I mean, you will not never get such a pride. You need to experience these things to actually feel it.
Right. So to sum this up, I mean, you have to look beyond money and fame, and maybe you think in terms of impacting the lives of millions, right? Because science
Yeah.
has this that potential to impact lives, and everything that ISRO is doing or any scientific institution is doing in India or across the world, they're touching lives every moment without us realizing it, right? When you think
Yeah.
about it, you feel inspired in general. That's not
Right.
only about money, there's much more to it, right? And that's a very good
Exactly.
answer. Thank you very much, right? So my next question is again related to this instant gratification, right? As a scientist, you have to fail a lot, right? I mean, and every failure leads to closer to success, right? And it's only after failing so many times you discover something, right? uh, so has this ever happened to you that you felt frustrated कि नहीं अब नहीं होगा, I want to change this career, or I want to get out of this, right? And whenever this feeling comes, how do you deal with it?
See, a simple answer is never ever. Right. So when I mean, you see the legacy of ISRO. I mean, we have failed quite a few times, right? So we have failed during PSLV initial launches. We have failed during GSLV's initial launches. See Chandrayaan, right? But every time we failed, we make sure that we bounce back with greater enthusiasm, right? So if you fail, I mean, whenever you're failing, that means somewhere you have not planned it properly, right? So you need to learn it there. It cannot happen that you have failed for no reason. There is some reason behind. So you need to think deeply. What are the root causes? What are the gaps you missed? Right. So we have to learn from those mistakes. Look from other failure cases. In fact, not only ours, but look for other failure cases. Whatever we have failed, what are the other things that can go wrong or that could have gone wrong? Right. So uh, I mean, if you work on that, I don't think ever. I mean, I mean, not only me. In fact, in general, we have. I mean, I have never faced such a situation that if I have failed, I plan to give up. In fact, as I told you, I mean, since we are working in a collaborative environment, the benefit of working in team is this: you win together, you lose together, right? So so we always share those things. In fact, I can share you one incident. In fact, when I was in school, I was in class 7th and I got detained for 1 year, right? So at that time I was good in science and math, but I was very poor in all other subjects, so I was detained for a year. And even at that time, the only thing which was there in my mind was ki, okay, I need to prove it that it's not my fate. I mean, I need to work on it. uh, uh, I need to improvise myself. This is something. This was something which made me much stronger. I think the whole ISRO approach is very simple. Any failure makes them stronger, makes us stronger. And yeah, so I've never ever thought of giving up after failure. Yeah,
Right. I mean, and that's another message for our audience. In general, you are expected to fail, and you'll fail a lot. It doesn't
yeah,
mean you should give up. You should persist. You should learn from your failure and try to succeed in the next attempt. Right. Failure should not, discourage you. That "Okay, let's give up and do something else." That's great. Uh, so, Piyush, before I move to my next question, I've got very interesting question from an audience, and to all the audience out there who are listening to us, we are open to picking up a couple of questions from you. If you have any meaningful, interesting questions to ask about ISRO, about Mr. Piyush's journey, about any advice in general, please go ahead and ask that. We'll pick a couple of questions and discuss them. So one question that I got from somebody who is pursuing MBA is asking, is there uh, also are there job roles available at ISRO that are non-technical in nature, people who come from non-scientific, non-engineering background?
Yeah, quite a few, quite a few. In fact, there is a whole administrative department in each of the center, right? So, in the administrative department takes care of many other infrastructures or, for example, we get our salaries, right? So, somebody has to maintain a record of that. Many permissions. There are many department. There are many permissions. There are many circulars. So there's a big admin department, administrative department also. There's a HR department as well. So a lot of non-technical jobs also, and you can actually explore all of them on our ISRO's website.
Oh, fantastic. And would you be in a position to tell us, I mean, for non-technical, non-scientific folks, what is the recruitment process or how to get those jobs?
No, I'm not really sure. I think better is to look for the ISRO website. There will be notification based upon the vacancies on the non-admin side. I mean, non-technical side. I'm not very sure about those requirements.
All right, cool. So moving on to our next question. So you have been part of multiple interesting projects, and three of them I talked about: Chandrayaan 2, Chandrayaan 3, and Aditya L1. Right? Uh, any interesting, motivating story that you have to share with our audience? I'd please request you to share those stories.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, I'll. There are quite a few stories, so I think I'll discuss the most recent ones. Uh, if you see any of the mission in general, also we have a lot of brainstorming going on. A lot of ISRO review will be conducted. Seniors will be guiding us what are on our algorithms, on our approaches. So it becomes quite hectic quite a few times.
Okay.
So. For example, there is a maneuver right now planned. So flight dynamics team is right now planning for that maneuver. The next day again we have to do another maneuver to increase the orbit once again. In between there are many reviews, there are many action items which we need to work upon. So we might not get time to even go home at that. I mean, at least at that point of time. I mean, in that era of mission campaign. So we do sleep on sofa, try to sleep for maybe a few couple of hours, get back fresh, and then again. So. Uh, in fact, I can recall one incident of one story which I can share with you all is of Chandrayaan. See, Chandrayaan was launched on 14th July, right? So, and it landed on 23rd August, right? So, even before the launch of Chandrayaan, around somewhere in June, the end of June, we planned all the maneuvers. I mean, till landing. So, what time we'll go for landing? Everything was simulated. Everything we have done, all the studies, and as per that study, the landing start time, which we call it navigation init or navigation initialization, it was supposed to happen on 23rd September, 5:15 p.m. Indian Standard Time. Right, so that's what we planned. Let's say 20, 30 days before the launch. And if you really see when we landed, the the navigation init which happened, it happened at 5:13 on 23rd of September. So there was just a difference of 2 minutes in our simulation what actually happened and what we planned for maybe 20 days before the launch, right? So, and in fact, if you see the position where the satellite was placed just before the landing start, it was within a bound of 5 meters, right? So it was so accurate, and we and our calculations were so matured that kind of gave us a lot of confidence. Yeah, we can do it. Come again, we'll do it, right? So even at that time, we are following Russian Luna 25 mission, right? So unfortunately, that mission got into
Crash
some
landed.
issue. Yeah, it crash landed. So where was the issue? It was in the lunar orbit. We were supposed to decrease the velocity of the orbit, and in order to decrease the velocity, you have to fire the engine in the opposite direction. Now we are the team who studies when to fire, what amount to fire, should be the satellite orientation in order to fire. So they, I don't know, it was a miscalculation or some mission operation issue, but they were supposed to fire for 89 seconds, and the velocity will decrease accordingly to get into a new elliptical orbit. But they fired for 129 seconds, so the velocity went so down that they have crash landed. And this is one operation which we did, I think, about 12 times, right? So
Oh,
in the operation we did five times on Earth and 7 times around the moon. And you see the kind of accuracy we have achieved. We have done each of the operations so precisely that we landed within a bound of 5 meters. I mean, we get into that position, landing start position within a bound of 5 meters, and also just within time delay of 2 meters, 2 minutes, right? So that was one interesting story. I thought maybe you guys will uh, may not be knowing, many of us. I think many of you.
I think it's very interesting. So related to this, when Chandrayaan 3 was successfully launched, it was
Yeah,
streamed online on YouTube, right?
yeah,
And then it successfully landed on the south pole of Moon. It was again
yeah,
streamed live, right? And many companies, including ours, we were
yeah.
streaming it for our team members at the
Mhm.
office, right? And right after the landing, we could see the environment and the success and happiness at ISRO office that was being streamed on YouTube, right? So that's what we could see, right? I mean, we were not present there. We saw that, right? Could you please describe how the moment was at the ISRO office? How did you feel? I mean, you must all have been very elated, very happy because after so much, after one failure and so much of hard work, we have been able to put their uh, uh, the rover on the moon and the country on the world's map, right? So let's talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I don't think I can describe much about that moment because we were also busy in celebration. We were also occupied. I mean, what has happened? Uh, I think at that point of time, I mean, before the landing start, you ask anyone from ISRO, the common answer would be we were very confident this time. We have considered so many backup strategies, so many redundancies, so many failure cases that there was a very high level of confidence. When it happened, it was just a matter of time actually. Although I mean, space is always a risky business, right? So uh, if you see, my hand were cold, but there was no reason of being cold. It just happened naturally. Uh, but the confidence level in us, we had some celebrations. We went out. As I said, we have a great flight dynamics team full of youngsters, a very dynamic team. We went outside. We had some good food, and I think that was a night we did not sleep. So yeah, I mean, it was just all fun. Yeah. Yeah,
And I'm
a
sure
great day to remember for us.
it was well deserved also. So I'll be picking up some of the questions that we are getting from audience. A lot of students are asking about internship opportunities at ISRO. So would you
Yeah.
be able to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so usually I get a lot of inquiries about internship opportunities on LinkedIn as well. Uh, every center will have their own rules in terms of internships. I can talk about my center, which is URO Satellite Center. So here we encourage BTech students as well as master students. But for internship, they should at least have 4 months of time. If you go anything below that, maybe 1 month, it will not be acceptable. Because we have seen with our experience that 1 month or 2 months doesn't fetch a good promising work. So 4 month above, you can definitely apply. There's a HR team. You can write a mail to them. You can even ask what are the documents will be required. But yeah, uh, if you have a good academic qualification background, you can apply there. Obviously, there will be some selection criterias because many application do come. You can also talk somebody prior. So some of the expert you can approach either through LinkedIn or anywhere else, and try to talk with them regarding what are the projects available with them, or if they can include you in some project. Uh, and yeah, I think their references will also matter a lot because since it's a high secured area, so a reference would also matter. So So preferably contact someone from your branch or from working in your field before applying.
Right. So you are suggesting ki, I mean, there are different centers of ISRO, and they all have their own set of rules
Yes,
for internship, and they have their own guidelines and selection processes, right?
yes,
So it is advised to students who are looking forward to finding an internship at ISRO, they should first do a good research about what exactly they want to do and which center is suitable to them,
yes,
and then perhaps it would be better if they spoke to somebody first, and then understood the whole thing, and then applied, wrote an email to HR, and take this process forward, right?
exactly,
Is that a correct
exactly,
summarization?
exactly, exactly. I got it right.
Right. Um, so moving to another question that we are getting from a lot of users from I think pharma and biotech and medicine background, asking if there are roles available for people studying either pharma, biotech, or medicine at ISRO in any department.
Uh, no, I don't think so. There is actually a CHSS facility which actually uh, absorbs medical people. So there are some doctors available for conducting our medical for running our medical facilities. So that may be one department which is suitable. Apart from that, I feel HAL, Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, I think they have a aerospace medicine center. So if you want to be slightly technical, what they do is the pilots which go on board. Uh, so they also require some medical. Uh, I think some medical requirements, right? So for those, I think for those reasons, there are some acceptance in biotech pharma related field, but in ISRO as such, what I told you, the medical facility is the only place where they can get absorbed.
Okay, interesting. I believe you got your answer. Moving on to the next question that I think quite a few people are asking. It's a very broad question, and I'd request you to be specific in your answer as much as possible. What are the softwares an aerospace engineer should know? I mean, there are so many departments.
Yeah, so as an aerospace engineer, I mean, if you're working on satellite field, STK would actually help, satellite toolkit. Uh, ANSYS, CATIA, those design softwares would help in order to design the structures and those things. And usually in our department, if you see, we write our own software. So if you're good at C, let's say Python, or even Fortran, because older codes are mostly so flight dynamics is also under the domain of aerospace. So if you see flight dynamics, we write all our softwares ourselves. So a good knowledge of C, Python, even Fortran would help. But yeah, the mathematical engine behind those software, that is something has to be studied. But yeah, in order to, as I said, ANSYS, CATIA, all those software, STK, Satellite Toolkit, uh, Systems Toolkit, I think. Yeah. So those things, if you know, it is always a advantage.
Oh, great. So I'll take two more questions. One is an interesting question from Rupali Singh. She asks if there were any negative thoughts during the launch of Chandrayaan 3, and how did you or the decision makers at ISRO cope with it?
See, if there is any negative thought, you need to address it much before, right? So we had tried to analyze all the negative things that could happen. So in fact, that we do for every satellite, because once it's on board, there are very, I mean, you are very limited in your resources. Uh, so so whatever negative things were there, we have done enough brainstorming before and try to address each and every one of them. And during the launch, I don't think it was all full of confidence, because
Right.
we have addressed whatever negative can happen.
So you're saying if there was any shroud of doubt, any
Yeah.
iota of doubt that was
Yes.
addressed much before, and only
Yes.
when you were 100% confident that this is going to be a success, you went ahead
Exactly.
with the launch, right?
Exactly.
Rupali, I believe this answers your question. So we'll conclude this session with one last question. from a very special viewer who is in class 6th, Mansi. She is asking, I'm in class 6th, sir, and I want to get a job in ISRO. How can I how can I do this?
I think we've already covered, right? So obviously we can't take six student, but yeah, after 12th, what are the processes we have already discussed? You have two processes, either through ICRB examination, which is conducted after BE or BTech engineering, and there is another way of going into space through Indian Institute of Space Science and Technology, where you can join immediately after your 12th.
All right. So, Mansi, I believe, and thank you so much for attending this session, Mansi. Your presence is really inspiring, and I believe Piyush answered your question. And everyone, thank you very much for coming and attending this session. I believe you had a productive 1 hour. You got to learn, and you got the stories that you're looking for. We'll be coming up with more such sessions. Stay tuned on Internshala YouTube channel and website. Uh, uh, Thank you very much again, Piyush,
Thank
once
you.
again for.
Thank you to Internshala team. I think thank you Shadab, Priyashi, Unnati, Raina, everybody who contacted me, and then thank you to the audience because it's 7 o'clock. I don't know, many of you I think still be with me. I hope I can justify your this precious 1 hour. Thank you.
Thanks.